Alright, let's get right into it. Instead of me saying, oh, it's the 14th cut because of this, let's get into it. This is the comic reviews part 1. You saw the title. Let Him Go. I saw this the third time, and it still holds up, for the most part. This time around, I'm surprised I didn't notice this the second time around, but there were certain moments in this movie that kind of, I'm not going to say contradict other parts of the movie, because in terms of like, oh, this is less subtle and this is more subtle, but there's like 2 moments in this movie where they kind of spell out what the character is feeling, kind of thing. Like they kind of, like, obviously you want to know how what the character is feeling, obviously you don't want to be too subtle, but it was like it spelled it out for you, like, oh, that's what you're going for, okay. And then it's kind of like, we got what you're going for anyways, but you had to beat us over the head with it. Not completely, like, it wasn't insultingly so, but it was kind of like, you're just fine. Oh, you just had this one thing that's like, oh, now we get it, thank you, and it's spelled out for us. But other than that, like, this is a phenomenal movie. I think this is one of the most underrated movies of the past 4 years, and it's one I will keep coming back to. Sid and Nancy is one I will only watch once because it's just so hard to get through, and even then, it doesn't interest me at all. It's just kind of one of those movies someone can tell you what happens in the movie, and then there's no point in you watching the movie. At least with something like Let Him Go, the more you hear about it, I wouldn't say the more you hear about it because someone can tell you the whole entire movie, but even then, the more you hear about it, the more you want to see it. This one, someone can just tell you what happens in it, and then there you go. You just save yourself 2 hours. It's not a bad movie, but it's just one that's kind of, I wouldn't say generic, but it's another, they get hooked on drugs, and then it's a drug PSA, basically. Don't do drugs, heroin, it's bad, thank you, I know that, you keep reminding me that. And it's just kind of like, it doesn't really offer much of anything. Only thing it really offered me was that I noticed that Sid Vicious has a cover of My Way by Frank Sinatra, and it's the same cover they use at the end of Goodfellas. It's like, oh, that's kind of cool. I didn't know that's where it came from. That's about it. That was about the only thing that I got out of that movie. Feel good songs, feel interesting moments. I think it starts out really well. Like when it started out, I was kind of like, okay, now I'm into this movie. And I thought I wouldn't be that. I thought I'd be really bored throughout. It wasn't bored at all. I wasn't bored, like super bored, like out of my mind bored. But nothing I'd ever watch again. Akira, I got the terrible dubbing. That's the version this is. And again, I don't even know if even if I get the cut that has the good dubbing. I'm not interested in anime or manga, and it's not like this is. I don't think Akira is going to change my mind or at all. I mean, I've read some manga that I liked, but nothing that I was like, I'm going to continue with this, and I'm going to keep reading it. And a lot of them, like, I think every single manga that I've read, it's still going, and it's like, I'm not gonna wait till my library has it. Just whatever the hell, like, I don't care. King Richard, I watched this along with. I wanted to watch it before Challengers because there's another tennis movie, and it was kind of like, okay, might as well watch this one. The tennis movie, and it's what I want to watch too. At least the other one that people will probably make connections to, that they know about anyways, is Battle of the Sexes, and that one I may watch, but this one was kind of one I really wanted to watch before Challengers. Battle of the Sexes I can watch at any time, like after. Obviously, after, because I already watched Challengers. But this and Challengers, I think both give you what you want for the most part. I mean, Challengers, you have to know what you're going in for. The trailers are very misleading. But once you know what you're going in for Challengers, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised. And same here. I didn't think it was as... I thought it'd be very basic. I thought it'd be very, like, tropey and manufactured. And other than the ending, for the most part, it does tell its story in a realistic way. The ending was very sappy and felt very manufactured. Like it was the studio's ending, not the director's ending. And yes, Challengers is a better movie in my opinion, because it doesn't feel manufactured at all. It feels like, I'm not gonna say the guy's last name because it's impossible to pronounce, but Luca's. It felt like Luca's movie, not the studio's movie. That wasn't A24, was it? No, it was not. I always think when something like that, it's gonna be it'd be A24. So apparently, no other indie studios exist other than A24. Which, to be fair, even Fox Searchlight, that is more indie flicks, still kind of, you could make the argument that they have to abide by the studio's rules. Where A24, they give you complete freedom. It's the Image Comics of the movie genre of Hollywood. No, it's not Hollywood, but you get either point. Movie genre sounds fine. I don't know why it doesn't sound fine to me. Spiderwick Chronicles, I was also pleasantly surprised with. And this one, I'm surprised I did not watch all the way through. Like, I'm surprised this wasn't one I watched all the time as a kid. I watched it once in theater, and it's the only time I can say off the top of my head that it was the only time I watched it all the way through, except for now. And I was pleasantly surprised. It's one of those movies that avoids all the tropes I don't like, or most of the tropes I don't like. And the tropes that are here, it's a tropey film. There are certain tropes. It is very predictable, but I didn't mind it, and thus I was able to ignore that and enjoy myself, very much so. I thought I was, again, pleasantly surprised with this movie. I think any kids movie that keeps me interested and I don't feel like I'm being talked down to, for the most part, they're doing their job right. And it's from the director of Mean Girls, the 2004 version, so it makes 100% chance. It makes 100%. What the hell? Why can't they think of the simplest words? It was obvious as to why I like the movie when I finished this one. When I found out that the director was the same director of Mean Girls, and that's why I like it so much. Yeah. I don't know why that's so weird. Or it's the writer. Who's the director? Someone behind Mean Girls. I also directed that. Again, 2004 one. Made all the more sense as what I was looking for. I have no idea. Aladdin. This is one that I don't need to say. I don't need to say because it's just like everybody else. I love this movie, and I'm glad I finally got down to watching it all the way through. It's like with Spiderwick, well, actually, unlike Spiderwick, where I watched it all the way through once. This one I haven't. It's possible that even then there were certain points that parts of the movie I had not seen before. Because you could make the argument that, well, I saw the first hour here and then the half hour here and then 15 minutes here. No, it definitely there were parts of this movie I had not seen before. But for the most, I would say like 85% of the movie I'd seen before, bits and pieces of. I'd seen like hour one here and first half hour here. Like I said before. At this time, I mean. The New York Four. I almost want to say that Brian Wood is a better writer when it comes to family drama, young adults, that kind of genre, than he is with Dystopian. Because this one was absolutely phenomenal. And this is like I can recommend this to anybody. And for DMZ, you have to be into the genre of dystopia. But this one, like, anyone can enjoy. This was, again, phenomenal, and it was one of those movies, one of those comics I'd love to see be made into a movie, because it was, I think it would, you get a wider audience, because comics, like, not everyone is going to be interested in reading comics. Everyone can watch a movie. Yeah, very pleasantly surprised with that movie, and with that book, graphic novel. You get the point. This next one is the John Constantine. It said it right here. I did not notice it. But this one I got the wrong book. I put in Peter Milligan. I got the wrong book. And that's because it's the older system. The old system for putting in books from interloans from my library. It's a 50% chance if you even get the right book that they say is right there. They say that this library has it. Thankfully, their new system that I wouldn't say I use more often, but that I use a good amount, sometimes more than I use the old system. The old system has some more books that I want, but the new system, thankfully, I've never gotten the wrong book. Sometimes I'll say we don't have it, but it's only because that library lost the book. And it's been happening a lot more recently, and it kind of is annoying. But I don't say recently, but it happens a lot more than it should. Like, I would say overall it's been 10 books that I said, yeah, we have it, one copy, it's in stock. Oh wait, no we don't, we lost it, sorry. Sorry, go back to this one. This one I thought was alright. It's very middle of the road, not terrible, but not anything spectacular. It's something that I would say if your library has it, pick it up. Or if it's the only John Constantine book you've not read, pick it up. Other than that, I would say probably skip it. Or read. Definitely not read that as your first John Constantine book. I would almost go so far as to say you can go right to, you can skip the Jamie Delano one, the run I didn't really like, and go right to the Garth Ennis run, which I really liked. Jenna Ivankovich has the award for the most forgettable and meandering comic graphic novel I've ever read. I get that there's two books in this series, but that doesn't mean you have to make the ending not an ending. And you just decided that, like, oh, like, I would not be surprised if I found out that this was originally supposed to be one book, but they split it into two, because it feels like this book just ends. And even then, I wasn't even invested in anything, not the character, not the story, nothing I was invested in. I was just ready. Thankfully, this book was short, because once it was over, and even then, it did not feel short at all. When I finished it, I was like, thank the Lord, and I was like, I wanted to almost celebrate finishing this book. This is boring. Not recommend at all. WYSIWYG. This one did take me a lot longer, a very long time to read, but only because it was so thick. Okay, this book was, usually with these OGNs, I'll try and read it all in one sitting. I could not do this with this book at all. But it was worth it in the end, because this was probably my favorite Ed Score book, and probably will remain to be my favorite Ed Score book, because it avoids his main trope of shoving 5,000 words into each panel. And because the pacing is not as bad as those books are, you can enjoy, I can enjoy a story like this. It's not something that I'm super interested in. I will say that it does get a bit repetitive. I think they could have summarized certain parts of this book and made it, instead of 338 pages, I believe it is, they probably could have made it 250. But other than that, I wholeheartedly recommend this book. And even then, those are nitpicks. Like, I do recommend this book wholeheartedly, like, to anyone and everyone. Especially because of the unfortunate passing of Ed Piscor. Joker by Brian Azzarello. This was the prequel to, or technically the prequel to, unofficial prequel to Batman Damned. Well, actually they make references, but it's kind of, let's make references as a Killing Joke, and, you can read Batman Damned without reading this. But I would say to read both. In this one, I would say Batman Damned is the better sequel. Like, that is a sequel that, it's the, what's a good example? What's a good example? I should know it. It should be, like, it's the Puss in Boots: The Last Wish of Batman books, where the first one is just alright, nothing too special, but the sequel blows it out of the water completely. This one I think that was just okay. I think a reread will improve it will improve things for me, but it was just alright. Nothing too special. I mean, I wouldn't say that. It definitely is a few things that makes this book stand out, but I already knew about them going in, so it was kind of like, well, I know that this book is pretty violent, and it definitely is one of those unofficial Vertigo books, because I don't believe it was Vertigo. There's still, I believe some of the swears are censored, like the F word or anything like that, but actually even then, I think they avoid having the F word on there, so it wasn't censored at all. So even more they could say it's an unofficial Vertigo book. I know it says Black Label, but it's only because it's a new printing they have. I don't think it was ever a Vertigo book. Could be wrong, though. Batman Tyrant's Wing continues Tom King's run, and I still think this is pretty damn good. Like, it's at least investing. I can ignore the fact that certain parts of this, well, not completely, but I can try my best to ignore the fact that there are certain parts in this, certain parts in the overall run of Tom King that I don't agree with, like his interpretation of Batman. Certain parts I don't agree with, but for the most part, I think it's investing, and that's all I really ask for. And it's like not just investing; it keeps my interest. It's surprisingly, I look forward to each new volume. Like, it's kind of one of those books I'm that invested in, which is a lot. It's just saying a lot for a Tom King book. For the most part, I've not liked a whole lot of Tom King books I've read. I think the only one, it's been a long time since I've read it, is Vision. So, I like to get back on. I think what I should do is, sometime soon, like, instead of doing the books in my personal collection, my physical books, I should instead do Kindle books. Still review them, So say, hey, I read Savage Spider-Man, and that was really good. Yada yada yada. But because I like showing them. I like showing them. I like being like, how do I say this? I say like I like showing the book. I like being like DMZ by Brian Wood, Volume 1. I really like this one, like that. But DMZ, I still think it's pretty good, but it's still one of those books that there's something missing. It's maybe because it's Vertigo and I expect a lot out of Vertigo, but there's something missing in the overall, not in the overall, for DMZ. But nothing to where I would say that, like, it'd be like instead of an 8 out of 10, it'd be a 7 out of 10 kind of thing. Like, I'd still recommend it still, but it's like, don't expect like it to like be like Preacher or Why the Last Man or anything like that. It would probably be in my top 10, and it'd probably be top 10. Even then, it'd probably be an honorable mention. But it would be like, because I didn't have enough slots. If it was top 15, it'd probably be 15. For top 15 comics of all time, it'd be 15. Sandman Volume 6. Now, this I always said was my least favorite volume of this series, and it gets a bit better with this time, a little bit better this time around. There was more I liked about this, I could say I liked about it, than I did the previous time I read this volume. Still the weakest, but more I liked out of this volume. Hellboy Volume, I don't know if it says 2, it's not Volume 2, but they cover it completely. But the next, it's Conqueror War. And because I have so much that I'm going to get next time I go to the library, you will not see the next volume of this, of Hellboy. And I don't exactly mind that. It's not terrible, it's just kind of like, I don't know. But I think, I don't know. But I still recommend Hellboy in general. It still is my favorite comics of all time, but it's just kind of like, maybe instead of being number 20, it's number 30. Giant Days continues being really damn good and a huge ass surprise overall. I think this is the better of the two boombox books I've read, and the other one is Lumberjanes. Like I dropped Lumberjanes. I can't see me dropping Giant Days anytime soon. I say I dropped Giant Days. I dropped Lumberjanes, but Giant Days, it's technically rhymes. I don't know, but Giant Days I cannot see me dropping anytime soon. I don't know why I thought I said. Akira, like the anime, I didn't finish this one. It was just 70 pages per chapter, and it got kind of annoying. Again, I'm not a huge manga fan. Do not come to my channel for manga reviews or anime reviews, because you'll be extremely disappointed. Ultimate Fantastic Four Volume 1. Now, this is perfect pacing, in my opinion. And this is how you do a different interpretation of classic characters. If only the 2015 movie followed this more than just saying, like, oh, they're teenagers. Because then the 2015 version would at least get a 6 out of 10 rather than a 4 out of 10 on IMDb, at the least. Ultimate Human. Well, I honestly, when I said Volume 1. Other than the third issue, this is a huge surprise. I remember a whole lot from my first read through, and like if I had to tell you how I felt about it, like how I felt about it reading it for the first time, I'd probably tell you I thought it was a bit disappointing, but kind of uninteresting. Kind of like how Ultimate Galactus Trilogy was kind of uninteresting the first few times I've read it. But this time around, like my most recent read through of Ultimate Galactus Trilogy, I was pleasantly surprised. Except for the third issue. The third issue is very boring. But other than that, this is a very damn good book. And a huge, an underrated gem from the Ultimate Universe. Yet again, written by Warren Ellis, too. It's another connection. Where's that book? Where did I put it? I know I didn't stack it here. Oh, it's on the table. It's on the bed? Where is it? Come on now. Okay, there it is. Alright. Deadpool by Kelly Thompson. Like with a lot of Kelly Thompson, like with most, I would say 99% of the books I've read by Kelly Thompson, it is just okay. Nothing remarkable, but adequate enough to where I can understand why people would like this run, but does not break new ground, and it's just okay. It's nothing special, but not in an insulting way. When I say nothing special, I don't mean that it's boring. I just mean that it's just kind of like another Deadpool book. Clobbering time, like the first time I really like this book, but it's all over the place, but in the best way possible. This is probably, if it wasn't a reread, would be my highest recommendation. Would receive my highest recommendation. And I think, honestly, let's go through these books that I have left. Oh, there is one. There is one that's a pick of the week that I haven't finished yet, but so far it is pick of the week. Spider-Gwen continues the run that I think is supremely underrated. I will forever regret that my library did not have the Spider-Woman crossover graphic novel, but it's good that they say previously in, so I know what happens. So I'm not like super confused or anything like that. And to be fair, Spider-Verse also interjected, like the first issue, after the first issue, it's Spider-Verse, because it was the Edge of Spider-Verse issue was the first issue. But this is so damn good. I love this run. I think this is probably one of my favorite runs of comics of all time. Honestly, I would say, as far and runs, I mean like Spider-Man run. I don't mean like Preacher run. No, it's someone else writing Spider-Gwen. But to be fair, it was Jason Latour who because it was Dan Slott who technically created Spider-Gwen. I would say, right? I can't check here. Star Wars Captain Phasma, another Kelly Thompson book, and actually I would say this one is just slightly above average. Just slightly. Mainly because it has, like, perfect pacing again. And the perfect pacing for me is not so much dialogue, and it's more, like, atmosphere, and more, like, and it's gonna be, if you're gonna make a Star Wars book, you should not have more dialogue than you should have splash page panels of action and, of an adventure. That's what I mean. That's what I mean by perfect pacing. Yeah, okay. If it's Sandman, you're gonna have more dialogue than action, of course. But something in Star Wars should not have the same amount of dialogue as Sandman, and that's why I say perfect pacing. Spider-Man Election Day. Unfortunately, the election issue, the story that has Barack Obama in it, was the least interesting of all the issues, and it was just thankfully it was just like a 5 to 10 page story. It was part of an anthology Spider-Man issue that they only cut that one story out of. But this was a huge surprise. Mark Guggenheim proves that he should come back to Spider-Man. Honestly, Spider-Man comics, not Ultimate Spider-Man, but the main Spider-Man book is dying hard, and I think if Mark Guggenheim came back, he could revive it. At least for the people that are still reading Spider-Man. I don't think it'd be like a huge sell or anything like that, because that's how comics are nowadays. But I do think that it would improve drastically improve Spider-Man with people's all-around enjoyment for Spider-Man, modern Spider-Man comics. Red, white. Oh, why didn't I put this right next to? Oh, this is a hardcover. That's right. That's right too. Because I go by, for the most part, it's for stacking these. I go by publisher, size of the book, and it's actually that's about it. Oh, and hardcover versus softcover. But this one I don't, because this is a huge book. Darth Vader, Black, White, and Red. Yet another book that, like with all the other Black, White, and Blood books, this one being Black, White, and Red, because I couldn't say Blood, because it's Star Wars, and I want to be parental advisory. They want to keep it in the same realm of T13. But like with all these black and white Marvel books, it is just adequate enough. Like, it's very enjoyable, above average, slightly above average, but nothing at all memorable, except for a few stories in here. But I'm not expecting a whole lot when it comes to these books. I just want what's called a palate cleanser, and it always delivers that. It always delivers to my expectations. Doesn't exceed them, but it meets them. And that's all I ask. Sin City Volume 6. Do I actually know that, we only got one more left. Damn good. Like, this is so damn good. I really like the series, but when they go to these more, like, one-shotty kind of, it isn't a continual, this isn't like like issues 1 through 7 of a continuing story. It's a lot of one shots, a lot of short stories, and I think that's the weakest part of Sin City. Still damn good. Like overall, Sin City is still my second or third. It's still in top 5 of my favorite comics of all time. But volumes like this are the reason for why it's not number 1. And that I would say it's that. I would say it's my second favorite comic of all time. I would say it's so my top 5 for those who want to know is Preacher, Preacher, Sin City, Wicked and Divine. No, sorry, Walking Dead, Wicked and Divine, and Sin City. And honestly, other than the first pick, it's really no particular order. And that's top 5. And you guys know how many comics I read. That's top 5 of all time. Like every comic I've read. So top 5 is like untouchable. Like that's like 10 out of 10, basically. And that's it.